This is called Going Lobstering. It's by Jerry Pallotta and Rob Bolster. So another book for our Ocean Week. Um, you can notice on the cover there's a lobster boat, and there are a couple of children on the lobster boat. And I think they're going to be going out to see what this is all about, what do lobstermen do. And this man is a lobsterman. That means his job is to get lobsters so that people can eat them. And we have lots of lobstermen in Maine, don't we? It was a beautiful day at the beach. Linda and her little brother Eric were building sandcastles and looking for seashells. When they looked out at the ocean, they saw a boat, and they wondered what the man on the boat was doing. Their father came over and told them that the boat was a lobster boat, and the man in the boat was a lobsterman. A lobsterman uses traps to catch lobsters. After hearing all about lobsters and lobstering, Linda and Eric asked their father if they could go out on a lobster boat someday. Their father decided to take them into town to meet his old friend Big Joe the lobsterman. Their father told them that if they were lucky, Big Joe would take them out lobstering to check some of his traps. Big Joe thought it was a fun idea. The first thing Big Joe did was to show Linda and Eric the buoys that float on the top of the water and mark the location of his lobster traps. Big Joe's buoys' colors were green, white, and red. As they left the harbor, Eric was hoping they would catch lots of lobsters. Big Joe told Linda and Eric to be on the lookout for his buoys. So there's all different colored ones down there, and they have to find the ones that match his color. Big Joe explained how a lobster trap works. The trap is baited with stinky, dead fish. Then it is set on the bottom of the ocean. There is a rope attached to the trap so that it can be pulled to the surface and checked for lobsters. A buoy marks the rope that is attached to the trap. So you see, there's the line and there's the buoy way up there. Hungry lobsters are attracted by the smelly bait. There are openings in the sides of the trap so that the lobsters can climb in. Once the lobsters are inside the trap, it is difficult for them to get out. And this trap is made out of wood. A lot of traps today are made out of metal. Linda could not believe all the buoys she saw. Eric was amazed by all the different colors. Each lobsterman has his own colors, so he knows which buoys are his. Linda was the first to find one of Big Joe's buoys. Eric remembered that the colors they were looking for were green, white, and red. Big Joe grabbed his buoy. He put the rope through the pulley and wrapped it around the winch. That's this thing up here is the winch. He then began to pull up the first lobster trap. Linda and Eric were a little afraid. They did not know what to expect. Unfortunately, the first trap did not have any lobsters in it, but it did have a flounder, a kind of a fish. Linda and Eric thought that this was a crazy lobster trap. It caught a fish instead of a lobster. They pulled the second trap, and it had 2 broken boards. Big Joe explained that they would have to fix the broken boards so that lobsters could not escape through the hole. In the third lobster trap, They caught 10 rock crabs, but still no lobsters. Big Joe put bait on the bait hook, then threw all the crabs back into the ocean. I wonder if they're ever going to find a lobster. In the fourth trap, they finally caught 2 lobsters. One lobster was much too small, but the other one looked big enough to keep. So they have to throw back the little ones. Big Joe showed them the special gauge that a lobsterman uses to measure lobster. A lobster is measured from its eye socket to the end of its back. The other lobster was also too small. Before throwing the lobster back, Big Joe showed Linda and Eric how to hold a lobster. The easiest way to pick it up is by its body with one hand. Then the lobster cannot bite you with its claw or hit you with its flapping tail. In the fifth trap, they caught a very big lobster. As he picked it up, Big Joe noticed that the very big lobster had thousands of lobster eggs on its tail. Lobsters with eggs have to be thrown back into the ocean. So there's all those little things, all those are little black lobster eggs. And the reason you throw it back is because you want all those, as many of those little eggs to hatch as you can, and that helps to keep more lobsters living and growing. Splash! Linda and Eric couldn't believe it. After finally catching a lobster big enough to keep, it still had to be thrown back. But it was the best thing to do. In the ocean, the eggs will hatch and thousands of baby lobsters will have a chance to grow. Linda wondered how the mother could possibly take care of so many baby lobsters. When the sixth trap was pulled from the water, Linda and Eric were scared and almost started to cry. There was a shark in the trap. It took Big Joe a long time to get the shark out of that trap. Boy, don't you wonder if they're ever going to catch some lobsters to keep? Well, after sixth, it's going to be the seventh. Let's see. In the seventh lobster trap, they caught 2 lobsters that were big enough to keep. Now, finally, they had some they could take home to show their mother. Wow, they're being pretty brave. They're even holding them. Big Joe helped Eric put rubber bands on the claws so that the lobsters could not bite anyone. Lobsters have 2 claws. One is a cruncher claw that is strong and dull. The other claw is a scissors claw. It is sharp and quick. So that's the scissors claw. That's the cruncher claw. That's a special tool that puts an elastic right around the claw so they can't open them. Lobsters also have 2 antennas. We just learned about animals with antennas. Insects, they kind of look like them, don't they? They have 8 legs. The first 2 legs on each side have little pinchers on them. They have tails that flap. One amazing thing about lobsters, when they lose an antenna, a leg or claw, a new one grows back. That is pretty cool. In the 8th lobster trap, they caught 22 crabs, 6 small lobsters, and 4 lobsters that were large enough to keep. Claws were snapping everywhere, and Big Joe had trouble pulling everything out without getting bit. I'm sure that's pretty challenging. Lots of things in that trap. In the 9th lobster trap, no one could believe what happened. Big Joe was stunned. He had never caught a lobster this big. The lobster couldn't even get its cruncher claw into the opening of the trap. Whoa, are you ready to see a big lobster? Oh my gosh, look at the size of that one. They finally got it out. Wow, it was almost as big as Eric. This lobster was probably as big as the biggest one anyone had ever caught. Linda couldn't wait to tell all her friends about the gigantic lobster. Lobsters can get really big. They pulled a few more traps. After they had caught 10 lobsters that were large enough to keep, they steered the boat back toward the harbor. After seeing how big lobsters can grow, Linda wanted to know what they eat. Big Joe told them that lobsters are scavengers. They eat anything they can: snails, fish, periwinkles, mussels, clams, crabs, and even other lobsters are just a few examples. Eric wanted to know if lobsters eat hamburger, fries, and pizza. Big Joe and Linda laughed. Big Joe told them that to remember that lobsters eat anything. They would even eat pizza, if they could find some. Might be hard on the ocean floor, right? Soon they were at the entrance of the harbor. Linda told Big Joe that going lobstering was really fun, and Eric agreed. They were back on the pier. Big Joe was happy because he had caught the biggest lobster he had ever seen. Linda was happy. Eric was happy. Now all of their friends wanted to go lobstering. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that book, Going Lobstering. Thank you, friends.